Yes, I have a cold this week, but I'm going ahead with the video anyway. It's my intention this year to try and get a video out at least once a fortnight. So, here we go. Hi, it's Lee from the Japanese Water Gardens. This week's video is a step-by-step guide to constructing a Japanese-style pagoda over your pond, or perhaps patio. How is it done? Why would you need one? Are there any drawbacks? Well, keep watching if you'd like to find out. Right, on with the show. Here's my pond, which I created in my previous video. If you missed that, then do remember to check it out sometime soon. I think you'll enjoy it and find it very informative. Apart from looking great and being an interesting project, a pagoda over a pond does offer several important advantages. Firstly, they help to provide some shade for the fish. The crystal clear water of a koi pond is not good for koi, and often the colours will tend to fade over time. Koi can also suffer from a type of skin cancer, which is referred to as a kui. Reducing exposure to bright sunshine helps reduce the risk of such a condition developing. Secondly, blanket weed. The dreaded blanket weed can be reduced, if not entirely eliminated, by heavy shading. All plants need light to photosynthesize, and reducing the light hitting the pond can only help. Third good reason is that it provides protection from strong winds and will help to stabilize the pond's temperature. It is surprising just how effective this can be, especially if you install sides onto the pagoda. Don't even consider fitting a heater to a pond unless you have some form of insulating structure installed. Speaking of protection, a pagoda will usually stop predators such as herons or cats from attacking your koi. You will also find that they can help to reduce glare on the water and improve your general view of the fish. And finally, the pond will be kept much cleaner, as a lot less debris, particularly leaves, will never make it into the pond. So there are some good reasons to install a pagoda, but what about the negatives? Well, apart from the cost, I can't think of very many. But, you know, they don't suit every situation. You might not want a structure such as this blocking your view from your front room. Having said that, if you build them tall enough, you may be able to look straight through and not impede your view onto your garden. If a pagoda is not right for you, then maybe some other type of style pond cover may be the way to go. So let's move on into the construction of the actual pagoda. The pagoda is made from wood, obviously. In my opinion, the best wood to use for this is 6x6 for the supports, 8x1 for the rafters. If it's going to be a very large pagoda, then you may scale up these sizes. I don't see a problem using pressure treated timbers. I've never heard of anyone having a problem using it over a pond, but I would always advise that you leave it out to weather for a couple of weeks before installing it over your pond, just in case. If you don't want to use treated stuff, then you could use an hardwood alternative, but that could add a lot to the cost. The construction is very easy if you have a helper and two decent sets of step ladders. If no helper is available, then you can get by with a couple of sets of quick release clamps. Tools needed are basic, handsaw, tape measure, hammer, chisel and so on. Also some power tools, which would include a masonry drill, a driver drill, jigsaw, powered miter saw and one of the multi-saws will all come in handy. The pagoda is going to be mounted directly onto the wall of the pond, and there are a number of ways which you could achieve this. You might use some kind of bracket, maybe a fence post socket, but they do look unsightly and you might not be able to get one that's a good fit on your post diameter. So here's a very simple, very cheap, very easy method that you can use to mount your posts. Simply find and mark the post centres onto the top of your brickwork or capping. Then take a decent diameter masonry drill, let's say 15mm, and drill down for approximately 9 inches. Take your time, let the drill bore in slowly, don't rush it, keep the bit nice and cool and regularly vent the hole. Some people recommend using water with the cooling, and it does help to stop dust and muck being thrown out as well. Do make sure that the holes go straight down into the wall. You definitely don't want to be going in on an angle. When all 4 corners have been drilled, insert 18-inch long sections of threaded rod. They should be about the same size of the hole. If they're a little bit loose, then you can glue them in place using a resin fixing kit. You can obtain this kind of thing from Screwfix and such like. Otherwise, just bang them down with a hammer and job done. Your next job is to cut the 4 corner posts. Here we're using the 6-inch by 6-inch treated post. They will be cut to length, and yes, you've guessed it, they're going to be drilled out in the bottom to receive the threaded bar. Mark the centres on one end of the drill and drill in 9 inches with a suitable sized bit. Aim for snug but not tight fit. The length of the post in this case is about 6 foot. A common mistake with pagodas is to make them too low and your view of the pond becomes impaired. Taller is almost always better. At the other end of the post, cut a 1-inch by 3-inch shoulder onto the 2 adjoining sides. There are a number of ways that you can do this, a handsaw and chisel and mallet method being the traditional tools, but you might want to use a powered miter saw with a depth gauge for instance, or one of the new multi-saw things that everyone seems to be getting nowadays. Just for reference, if anyone who's watching this would like to buy me one of these things for my birthday, then please feel free to do so. Once your posts are ready, they are inserted over the threaded bar, and then they will hopefully stand up straight and proud, just like the ones in this model. Turn the shoulders so that they are facing towards the outside. The next job is to measure and cut lengths of the 8 by 1 inch timber to create the ring beam. The timbers drop onto the post shoulders and should be secured with a couple of screws. Use a spirit level to check that all the posts are vertical. If not, you might be able to pull them back upright by slightly adjusting the ring beam. Now we can measure and cut our timber for the first rafter. Again, we are going to be using the 8 by 1 inch timber, and I've extended the rafter over each side by approximately 2 feet. You can then mark some kind of curve onto the end of each rafter and cut it off with a jigsaw. You might want to opt for something a bit more elaborate than this design, but remember, you're going to be cutting lots of these curves, so you're probably best sticking to something that's simple. The rafter then requires 2 1-inch by 3-inch deep notches cutting into it so that they can drop down onto the ring beam. Remember that multi-tool cutter? Perfect for this job. After you've completed your first rafter, you're going to need to create some copies. I would suggest spacing them at about 18-inch intervals. Once installed on the beam, adjust the spacing accordingly and then fix them with a couple of screws. The rafters can then be cut for the 2 sides. These shorter rafters need to be notched out onto the ring as before with a curve on one end. They're butted up to the existing rafter and should be secured with screws. Again, spacing of 18 inches is about right. Often overlooked is having a nice corner. This can make a much more pleasing design. What you need to do is split the corner at an angle of 45 degrees and create a rafter as before, but note that this one should be longer. Again, it's secured with screws and it's notched out so that it drops down over the corner, as you can see here. On this design, we're going to be covering the pagoda with netting. You could also use polycarbonate panels, maybe some bamboo screening, perhaps some kind of heavy duty PVC tarping, or various other options. Whatever you use, you're going to need to flatten it out, pull it tight and tack it down onto the rafters to hold it firmly in place. If you're using netting, make sure that it's a good grade of material. If you'd like assistance sourcing some in the Nottingham area, then do get in touch with me at the shop, because I have a good supplier who can provide some bespoke plastic coated nylon nets which will come with stitched edges. The next job is to screw down some lengths of 1 by 2 inch tile lath over the net. This provides extra protection for the netting. It prevents it from ever lifting up. It's not shown well on this model, but the surplus netting can be folded over the outer timbers and tucked underneath itself, and this will create a really well protected edge, and it won't suffer from wear and tear in the future. In order to completely secure the pond and help insulate it properly, drop-down netting sides can be added. A simple tag and fastener system helps to hold them firmly in place, and when the nets are not required, they can be rolled up around a length of dowel timber that's been split down the middle, trapping the net in between, and held up simply by means of a chain and hook system, or perhaps more of the tags and fasteners. Again, my supplier in Nottingham can help you source these very easily. Just get in touch with me at the shop if you'd like more help with that. Well, this was a short video this week. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please do remember to like and subscribe to my channel and check out some more of my videos if you like this one. It's goodbye from now, and well, almost forgot to say it, but Happy New Year for 2017 from me, Lee, at the Japanese Water Garden.